Hey beautiful people, it's your boy Joshua Martin. Today I'm going to be talking about the SLR Magic Microprime CINE 25 T1.5. I'll be focusing on the performance of the lens and situations I've used it in and its characteristics. Now SLR Magic did not send me this lens, I purchased this myself. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Recently, I've been filming a lot of dance films for reels and personal interests. I use this lens in controlled and environmental lighting, and even though I used other lenses along with my projects, the 25 was the main lens that I used. I would say almost 80% of the time. For all the projects I filmed, I used my run and gun styled rig along with the Tilta follow focus for manual focusing. The SLR Magic 25mm T1.5 MicroPrime is a micro four thirds mount. The field of view on the Pocket 4K is roughly 47.5 millimeters. And of course I said a T-stop of 1.5. Filming wide open, you will notice a bit of halation on the edges, but for my filming style and preference, T2 is the widest I would go. At T2 I've noticed some interesting fall off on the edges from the center. The center is not overly sharp, which I like. This is especially noticeable with skin details. It's not too soft, but there's enough details to feel pleasing. I haven't noticed any major color shifts in this lens. It's quite neutral, which is great for getting accurate color out of your image, especially with color correcting and grading my footage. The flares are like sunbursts of rays. But my favorite characteristic, and probably the strongest characteristic of this lens, is how it blooms the highlights. It adds a bit of texture coupled with how the bokeh looks in the background. It gives a really nice aesthetic and a characteristic that stands out for lenses in this price range. If you ever use a black pro mist, it feels like a 1/8 or 1/16 if they make a 1/16. It adds texture, it helps with the highlight roll off, and just coupled with the bokeh in the background, it just looks really good. The bokeh is pleasing. It's not a selling point for me personally, but it's not distracting in the background with odd shapes. Granted, there are 13 blades in this lens, but I'll get to the technical specs a little bit later. Lens breathing is hardly noticed from my time of using it, but you might think otherwise. Now getting to the build quality, the MicroPrime is physically bigger than the previous HyperPrime 25mm T1.5. It weighs about 1.6 pounds, it's 8.7 centimeters long, it has 9 groups and 11 elements, 13 aperture blades, and has an 82 filter thread. This has a 150-degree focus throw. This lens has hard stops as well. As soon as you turn from infinity, hard stop, and then close focus, hard stop. It's also internal focusing. I know many of you asked me if I adapted the Micro Four Thirds lens to the Fuji X mount. No, I did not. SLR Magic does make a X mount and an E mount. I have the X mount for testing purposes, and that video will be coming a little bit later, but as you can see here, it fits perfectly on the Fuji X-H1, and it will fit perfectly for your X-T3, and especially with the new X-T4 coming out later on this year. So stay tuned for a review of all those lenses. I know I've been saying it for a while, but I'm finally getting to it. Who is this lens for? If this is your first time using a CINE style lens with the gears and the T-stops, some things you might want to consider from moving from a photo lens to a CINE style lens. One, the focusing throw is going to be very different. It's not going to be your shallow, quick turn of the wrist type of focusing. You're going to have a much longer throw. This lens has 150 degrees focus throw like I mentioned before. And so that's something to keep in mind. If you're looking for a CINE style lens for your Pocket or for your GH5 or any Micro Four Thirds camera and you want a little bit more characteristics, SLR Magic might be the lens for you. I personally enjoy using it. I would prefer the 21mm
I like that focal length on the pocket, but the 25 is serving its purpose pretty well. I'm happy with the results. It's surprisingly how unique this look is, in my opinion, compared to the other lenses on the market. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Check out the links in the description as well. And until the next review, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.